Hello, everyone, and we're back with Steve Winter of Nat Geo. We don't know what happened. That was the weirdest thing any of us had ever experienced before. I don't know if there
Well,
was a
not the weirdest. I think I've had some other ones that were weirder.
yes, but technology is what it is. So, Steve, you were right in the middle of telling us about this amazing Black Panther, and you had finished up the story about you being in Latin America and all that. I'm just going to go and start here. I'd like to know after that moment of being with literally a cat like that who must have been beautiful when you finally caught him. The beauty of that in that moment, in that rare moment. Going back to peace, and you were talking about when you were a kid and watching Mississippi and Alabama on television, okay, and seeing the likenesses of those images. It really parallels life a little bit and where we look at our peace, because when we talk about peace today, those images you were looking at were peace. And then you were in Latin America in the middle of the rainforest as peace. I want to ask you, your camera takes you between so many worlds. How do you see the parallel of those worlds in terms of peace?
Well, I think it's really, I place a lot of emphasis on the peace of the natural world just because I've been lucky enough to be part of I always call it the University of National Geographic because I'm getting an education in things that I don't know about. And it's because I'm working on stories or television programs in wild places with people that have a deep, deep respect and they don't understand having anything but respect for the natural world and understanding its importance because it gives us all life. I mean, we're so separated from it in urban areas. That's why even having a tree outside, like we have here, or in my backyard, I'm very, very lucky that I have that. And that gives us, as we see nature, as we walk and hear birds singing or smell something different, the fact that our whole bodies change, our mind changes, we release a lot of stress hormones that build up being in constant urban jungles. When we actually enter even into a park, we become more at peace and much more relaxed. And it's really, that's why we call it vitamin N for nature. And we all need that. And I've been lucky enough to experience it in a way in the beginning that I don't think I understood, but now I do, that I have a unique opportunity to help myself emotionally by where I work, and be around people that have that ultimate respect for the natural world.
Wow. Wow. Well, I think that's really amazing because it's peace is something that's hard for us to sometimes locate. And
Well, we look at peace in many different ways, also. I mean, I'm relating it to an emotional and the way we can feel in our minds. And we look at peace as an absence of war. That's why I think we need to change our vocabulary and how we use the word peace, and have it more relate to an emotional state, having empathy for each other and for animals and for our natural world. I say animals because we look at them differently. And if we love, I just looked at my comments on a picture that was just posted on the Nat Geo Instagram site. Well, it's the second image now of a leopard and a little cub in Africa. And you look at the comments, and people are gaining happiness and a certain emotional state by looking at that photograph. Well, you need to do the same thing when you look at a photograph of a person and know that the emotional reaction you get, if you have a sense of emotion, no matter what it is, if you can enter a state of peace by seeing a relationship between a mother and a father, mother and daughter, or son, or father and daughter, son, or whatever it is, get away from this whole war and peace deal and make it more of an emotional state that we can reach and be in. And if we experience that just by walking through a park, can we hold on to that when we have our interactions with people, that we're going to be much better off? And an ultimate form of respect that I said about local people that live in the forest and understand its importance. Because we lose the fact that without nature, without this living planet we live on, we wouldn't have the necessary things we need to survive. So let's change the vocabulary of how we view peace. I like looking things up in a dictionary because, being a visual person, there's a lot of times I need to look at the definitions. So let's look at the definition and take the parts that don't relate to war and put those back in our lives.
Wow. Okay. All right. Do you want to look at the definition now?
I don't have a computer in front of me because I spend my every 7 days a week in front of a computer. I mean, we're in the lockdown here, though it's not official, but the numbers are flying up. So it's nice I'm in front of my phone here, but not in front of a computer.
Okay, so let's look at what peace is. Okay. And what we
Yeah,
have.
because it's true. It's really truthful that I do that quite often, just
So,
because I did it a couple times and went, I should do this more often, because our words stick in what we feel is the meaning. But if we look at the definition, we can then kind of change up how we view certain important phrases or words. So what do you got?
I got here freedom from disturbance and tranquility. We also have peace as a concept of societal friendship and harmony. In the
There you
absence of
go.
hostility and violence, in a social sense, peace is commonly used to mean a lack of conflict and freedom from fear of violence between individuals or groups.
That's great. I can think of protests that have been going on and say that a lot of times they say that they're peaceful. And that's where we need to use that word also, because you're coming in to change something that you feel is wrong. And the state that you may be in has a sense of peace to it. And it only changes when the response changes. And so if we can keep the sense of peace, we'll all be better off. I find it in the natural world, but I'm not traveling anymore. So I have to find it now that I'm not in the natural world anymore, though I was on Sunday. But we have to go find something that I gained by my work environment, which was being in nature. But now I myself have to think about ways to find that peace in a stressful situation of lockdown or a political situation. And, COVID numbers are flying up, and we need to find a way to find peace. So, yeah, that's great looking up the definition.
Well, one of the other things I'd like to ask you, one of the last questions I'd like to ask you, Steve, since we're running out of time here. I want to know, you've been with Nat Geo now for many years. You've shot all around the world. When you're behind your camera, when you are totally behind your camera, like you said, you now have to go find places of of peace. When What have you found in all of your travels and behind that camera that actually you found a peaceful tranquility that you were looking through the lens at? Literally, and let me make my question a little clearer. You were looking through the lens and seeing peace all around you with people and animals. Have you ever had that experience where it was peace and harmony, just you felt like you're in a planet where the whole planet was at peace?
Well, I think the first times that I maybe came through it was seeing. I used to do work for UNICEF when I first started out, and I worked with Mother Teresa, doctors, not her herself. And there's certain times where you just are overcome by a strong sense of love for each other, and I guess it is peace, but it's a lack of any tension, problems, and then translate that into the natural world when you're working with animals and you're in villages in the middle of nowhere. I really find that people that have an ultimate respect, love, and empathy for each other and where they're living, the feeling that nature gives you when you're in it, how that you lose all this tension and stress in you when you're all together. I feel extraordinary amount of happiness because there's a lot of people that never raise their voices. Their culture doesn't have that unless they're doing it in happiness, raising their voices by laughing or raising their voices in another way. But anger doesn't have a place in their culture. So that we need to learn from other cultures. We need to learn from their experiences. We need to learn from the lessons that we get when we're in the natural world. And this whole, when you put them all together, a culture that is devoid of tension and anger and stress in an environment that is devoid of that also, that gives us a sense of peace and releases stressful natures that we have embedded in us. When you put that all together, you have a complete circle. Well, as with my granddaughter yesterday, the circle of life. And we need to get back to that. But that's where I see it more, where the people I'm with in the natural world, their village and their culture being devoid of things that we unfortunately have in our total existence as we're reading the news and what's going on in our lives, to be around a culture that doesn't have certain aspects of anger and stress and tension. And yelling and things like that. They just don't have it. I mean, if you do it towards each other, they'll look at you. And when this first happens, you're wondering, ooh, did I do something wrong? And it's like, they don't even understand anybody raising their voice like that because they don't do it. They don't yell at each other.
In Thailand, it's like that. The people of Thailand do not raise their voices at each other.
Yeah. And when you're around that, and then nature, and combine that with the natural world where many of the places are that I work, then you have a total package. And we need to learn from it.
Absolutely. And this is my last question to you. I know that your wife and you are both do very similar work, and I wanted to find out from you, have you ever worked with your wife together on any of the work you've done for Nat Geo?
Oh yeah, many, many, many times.
Wow.
When we're lucky enough to do it, because I always call home in Asia twice a day. When I wake up, it's good night to her, and when I go to bed, it's good morning, because we need that connection. So we're lucky enough. The last story we did on, U.S. tigers and the issue about captive big cats in the United States, we concentrate on tigers. That was the last story. Was in last year's December issue of National Geographic. Before that reality show, The Tiger King, came out. You should read Sharon's story. I always say read the story. I mean, the pictures are there, but the story gives you the truth about the situation. We worked in Thailand. Her stories, 4 stories for Nat Geo, and the video that I did led to the Thai government coming in with the army and police and closing down a Buddhist monastery that had 170 some tigers, and they were involved in the black market trade, breeding and sending them off to Laos and then on to China, and
Wait a minute,
killing cubs.
Yeah,
it was a big tourist operation. It was just a front. The Thai Tiger Temple. So that was closed because of the work we did. But I always say it was Sharon never giving up and keep writing till the government had enough information. Because as journalists, we're not advocates for anything. We're giving you the information and government's information to make decisions based on truth. Once the information is there, that here is CCTV footage of animals being removed in the dead of the night, and some of them had chips in them, and so they knew that the animals had left, and then they found out where they went. So it's great when we get to work together as a team. That's our ultimate goal, is to keep doing that.
Yeah, I can't wait. And we're so glad that we're partnered up with you to support you and Sharon in the work that you're doing. We can't wait to find out more.
Well, thank you. I'm a lucky man. I'm lucky because I've realized my dream, and now I'm lucky because Sharon and I get to work together. And after 31 years, it's like we're lucky that we want to work together.
I think it's beautiful. And we hope to see your wife, Sharon, one day soon. And please give her our regards. And we thank you.
Will.
Thank you. And thank you for this time. I'm just going to end the broadcast. And if you would just stay in the green room, Steve, for just one quick second, it'd be great.